famed author Clive Cussler.
The hero Dirk Pitt.
A flight to trace LeBaron's trail, the Prospertier's spectral wanderings. A man who enjoyed eating bricks for breakfast. The guys christened her Little Eva because she's a small blow.
Cyclops, Episode 3, Pneumatic Scrotum.
Cruise ships, the way they exist now, I think are a sin against nature and shouldn't exist. But I would love to take a small cruise up to Alaska or something. A cruise somewhere nice and cold, actually.
Would you be okay with not seeing the coast as you're on the ship?
It might weird me out a little bit, like when I drive out east and I hit Saskatchewan and there's suddenly no mountains, no hills, and no trees taller than 10 feet. That kind of freaks me out. But
Well, you can't drown in a field unless you really try.
you can when you get to Manitoba, which has like 100,000 lakes.
Well, then that's not a field.
And they're small. They'll sneak up on you. So the cat is going to be extremely attached to us for this entire record. Just figured I'd let you know.
You are so blurry. You and the cat are one. As far as I'm concerned, the cat's a podcaster, and he's wearing the headphones. Or she's wearing the headphones, Lily. Sorry, I misgendered you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, she has to go to the vet in 3 hours. And I think she knows.
For what? Good things?
A checkup. Her ear got ripped open a couple days ago when she got out and got in a fight with something. Her eye is swollen and leaky. Her fur is all matted on this side. Because she's 15 years old.
Holy cannoli.
All she does is eat people food and try to get outside. So we're pretty sure she just wants to die like a Viking.
I had a dog like that. He would just want to go outside. He'd run around for hours, come back after like 3 hours, and he was old. He wasn't going to hurt anybody because his teeth were mush. So, and he just wasn't going to hurt anybody. He was just going to scrounge around the woods, eat things he shouldn't, and then puke them up when he got back home. Yeah. I figured if he died in the forest, it's a warrior's death.
She fights cats. She fights foxes. She's fought at least one crow. She's an idiot.
Sounds like she just needs a after-school activity.
Her sports are fighting cats, fighting foxes. Okay, get out of the way now. All right. How have you been? We haven't talked for 2 weeks.
I know. I've been fine. I've driven to Boston so many times I could do it in my sleep. God damn. We have new neighbors. And we're like, oh, cute young couple. They have 4 Pomeranians. Adorable. Good-looking couple. We asked them, get to know you questions. They were older than us. I thought they were like newlyweds, like baby newlyweds. Just no kids. And I was like, that's the devil's work. There's not a line on them. They look like babies.
It's because they have no kids. They haven't been prematurely aged.
And my daughter went to the homecoming dance. Homecoming is this big cachet, I think, because of Disney and what we see on TV. It wasn't something I experienced in high school. Just we had dances, but not like a homecoming. The idea was absurd. Nobody wanted to go back to school, so why celebrate it? And one boy showed up to this dance, and I was terrified for this young man.
As in, he was the only one?
He was the only boy.
Wow.
He pimped it up. Like he has the charisma, and he like made a party. Like they were doing line dances and stuff, and he was leading them. But all that dress up, all these girls get so dressed up, and they're wearing high heels that are this big, and they all look like newborn colts. Or newborn giraffes just learning to walk. Clunk, clunk, click, click, click. They're just trying to be teenagers with like the new toddlers. They're just trying to be adults in this world. And they're speaking a language between boys and girls or whatever that they're not used to. And they're all bad at it. And they think they're wonderful at it. And it's amusing.
That kid will have a story to tell for many years, too. The time I was the only one at the dance.
Skyrocketed him to an enviable position, I think, amongst his male counterparts. There might be more attendance next time.
We can't let him win. Go away, then. Yeah, this episode is going to be slightly in bad taste because if we managed to get from
Oh my God, yes it is.
chapter 16 to chapter 24, well, even if we don't get to chapter 24, I think by chapter 19 is when we meet the next side character in Cyclops, a hurricane, which amazingly started from nothing and got huge in the waters around Mexico and Cuba. So honestly, this is the most accurate thing a Clive Cussler book has ever done.
Really, our timing is perfect. We're sliding into this just with extreme tackiness. Let's talk about a hurricane and fictional people not getting hurt.
Apologies in advance.
I apologize for not having a stable enough country to evacuate a whole state, which I get is not possible. We open up Cussler Hustlers on chapter 16.
We still have a few more talking chapters. This one is it's just a Russian meeting. We have President Antonov, we have Polovy with the KGB, and we have Sergei Kornilov with the space program. We have General Yosenin of the military, and all they're doing is talking about the U.S. having a moon base and how it's impossible.
Yes, and one of them slips and says, we lost 3 men on that landing. And even the KGB guy was like, what do you mean, 3 men? And
That was an unmanned probe.
that President Lashin says even the KGB doesn't know some things.
Yeah, one of them just says sacrifices must be made, just to reiterate that the Russians are evil, because they're willing to kill people in space.
And they've lost Salinas 4 in the Caribbean Sea, right around the time that the search was on for the rich guy over there, what's his name? LeBaron.
Yes, Raymond LeBaron.
His rescue mission was in the exact same spot, around the exact same time, so they think that was a smokescreen. And there is historic reference for that. Howard Hughes did something similar with a lost yacht. Like he was trying to find a yacht that was lost, but they were trying to find, in actuality, it wasn't anything to do with him. The Navy was using his eccentricity to look for a lost missile.
That sounds about right. Hey, Mr. Hughes will pay you money.
I think he just got to be extra weird. I don't think he took the money.
Yeah.
Hughes would do it the story at the dinner party.
Mm-hmm. There are definitely 2 kinds of rich people. There's the ones who will do anything for a little more money, and there's the ones who just don't care. Like, they don't know how much money they have. They just know that they get to be weird because they can afford to.
What would make you so weird?
Entirely possible. My friends call that Elvis syndrome.
That's a good term. Boy, did money not help that guy out.
Nope. Which is wild. After watching the movie, I found out he wasn't all that rich. He was massively in debt for various reasons. But when you're like tens of millions of dollars in debt, you still get to be rich.
There is a math there that is absolutely true and can in no way be quantified. Like, you can't, like, the homeless person is $0. This person is $10 million in debt. They have a mansion and a yacht.
Let's give him one more. I bet he's good for it.
They lost the Salinas War. I was hoping for sea zombies. I don't think we're going to get to sea zombies, but I was hoping for that.
This isn't Minecraft.
I think they had sea zombies in Minecraft. And because I have to get this out of my head, because we're all on the spectrum, and cosmonauts keeps coming up. I had an Uncle Cosmo. He was a terrible human being. He drove my aunt. It was on my father's side, so it didn't count. He drove my aunt and their 7 kids into the middle of the woods and left them there. And they had to call the police to go home. He was like, I'm done with all of you.
To build character?
No.
Why would he do that?
He's like, I'm done with you. Like,
oh, Jesus.
Like, he would take a dog far away so they wouldn't know how to find their way back home if you were one of those types of people. Instead, he did it.
I bet families work the same way.
And he's very much dead. So I just had to get that story out there. Thank you for enduring that info dump.
I have such a small family on my side. I don't have hardly any crazy stories like that. So jealous.
I had like the chanting over John Boy that scared my grandma. We had the neighborhood weirdos. We had kids. We had all the weird stuff where I lived. I'm sorry you got none of it. Some of it was quite terrifying. Oh, and the Russian duty, the sacred duty to retaliate. I've read the Bible. It's in there. Yeah, sacred duty.
Eye for an eye, missile for a missile.
Yes.
Yep. So they make the decision to arm the cosmonauts for Mother Russia.
And like you said, that leads to some interesting ballistic choices. But there was a sentence in this chapter I really liked. It was a great mistake to place political ideology over scientific achievement. Meaning when the U.S. put a man on the moon and the Soviets didn't try to. They just stopped their space program. But in the absence of that context, I like that sentence. It's well written.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that.
And nobody will learn anything from that.
Humans do not learn. We're building new houses on the Outer Banks. What are we doing? The Outer Banks is off the coast of North Carolina. You can Google it and see houses just melt into the sea.
Hooray!
And off we're in chapter 17, and we have Mike Judge, who's really Mr. Hagen.
We finally get some hijinks.
Now, the only antidote to a zany scheme is an even zanier scheme.
Why does it have to be zany?
Yes, he goes into Dr. Mooney's office, and he sees all the people working at their computers, tapping away. Engineers fondling calculators. His term. Now, don't look at me that way. Do not look at me like that. Clive wrote that.
Uh-huh, sure.
He's investigating the Jersey colony, the original group.
Yeah, he's going through these files. He's going through all the names. He's trying to find any suspicious phone numbers from the phone records. He's in the files he's not supposed to be in while he's undercover as an accountant.
This place keeps meticulous phone records.
Yes, and it would take way too long to go into all of this, but he finds one phone number. He calls all of them, and it seems like they check out, but there's one of them where he's like, never heard of them. What about Anson Jones? No, never heard of him. Okay, how about Dr. Mooney? Never heard of him. So he goes out on a limb and says, well, you tell Leo that Gunner wants him to pay for the airplane. And the guy on the call pauses just long enough that Ira Hagen knows that there's something suspicious there.
Or that this guy really dialed the wrong number.
That's what I thought.
I know that's not how it works out.
If the guy I'm talking to just suddenly starts spouting absolute nonsense...
Are you going to engage? Click. He also has the lucky call of the... he calls Centennial Supply and gets the off-duty operator who knows an astonishing amount about every department. For nearly midnight, the operator's like, oh yeah, there's 12 people working here. We make this. We make about a dozen of these. Your company only buys some twice a year. I mean, he knows everything for the night guard that's picking up the phone at midnight.
It's like a phone call from Columbo.
Now I get out a whole sentence before I realize I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to a recording. A thing like that, it makes an impression on you.
It really is.
And on the way out, I guess he figures he has enough information, so he calls and books a hotel at the Drake. He breaks out his spy shit and does spy camera stuff. Robs Mooney's office.
Yes, he's got a pulse generator to mess up the cameras.
He's got the very small mirror on a stick to look under doors and look around corners. He's got lockpicks. This giant Santa Claus man is actually a very competent spy for once. And then he robs Mooney and then just walks out of the building whistling.
Yes, he looks affable and like an accountant.
This also doesn't seem like it's very effective as being undercover, because Dr. Mooney's going to come in. This accountant will no longer be there. His office will just have been burgled, and he will obviously think that the president is onto him, because Ira did not cover his tracks at all.
He took a book of code. He's like, I can't decipher this now. He didn't bother to take pictures and place it back in the same way he found it, which is what the Watergate people fucked up on.
No, this was just a smash and grab.
So he's going to notice.
Yeah.
At least his code book is gone.
But he's in a hurry. What can you do?
Now, listeners, this is when we get to part 2, the Cyclops. And possibly, I think, the episode chapter title. I have it highlighted.
I also wrote down the best line from Al.
We're going to tell you. Just wait a minute.
Part 2, the Cyclops, chapter 18. And basically, it's action for like the next 7 chapters. The book finally gets good here.
Yes, it's October 25th, 1985. Al helps Pitt wake up from a tarmac nap. He's just hanging out in a cement slab, looking at the prospector, getting all whimsical.
He's doing like mind palace stuff. He's sorting all the facts of the case in his mind. Al says he took a 50-hour blimp course, so he's ready to go.
It's like a bartender's license. Sure, that's a real thing.
In 1 week, you can learn how to fly a blimp from home. As you highlighted, he's nervous about the finesse needed to keep that pneumatic scrotum airborne.
Pneumatic Scrotum! It just made me laugh. Like, every time I see the Cybertruck, I laugh. Pneumatic Scrotum. And they said, as long as we don't get the blimp caught in a hurricane, we should be fine. So what do? They look at the weather, and they see a hurricane coming. But it's a small one.
Yeah.
So, of course, you have to take off now.
Is October still hurricane season?
When I was a child, hurricane season was August and September.
Well, in that case, October is not too out of the question. I mean, not now, obviously.
Well, no, October. Now it's December is the end of hurricane season. So that is how much that window, Overton window, has drifted.
Hooray!
I mean, not the right used the phrase Overton window, but it's
I knew what you meant.
The new normal has shifted.
You're back again.
Really, it's back for fuzzy attention.
But it turns out Al didn't need to take that course because Jessie LeBaron shows up and she says she's piloting. And Pitt is like, lady, no, we're doing man stuff over here. You just stay here. But then he's intrigued when she says that she's a licensed Zeppelin pilot, as well as certified skydiving and deep sea diving. And Pitt's like, oh, she has, like...
competency.
Skills. She's competent, yes. That's the word I didn't want to use, but I probably should have.
And Richard Gunn's like, we can't have a lady on the blimp. We can't.
I just got a text from my son where so last Christmas, we got him a roadside safety kit for his car. He's finally busted out of the roadside safety kit because he hit a pothole hard enough to knock his bumper off in one side. And he had to tape his bumper back on.
Poor kid. Oh, everyone listening, if you don't have them, if you might be in need of them, those little Mylar blankets you see in movies when somebody's sitting on the edge of an ambulance, but they're not going to be taken to the hospital. Those foil blankets, like 50 cents each. Get a couple, put them everywhere. Put them in your car, put them in your kid's car, your friend's car, put them next to the duct tape.
They are a lot more useful than you think they might be.
Duct tape and those foil blankets are very useful. Paper towels, especially if there might be a toddler doing a poltergeist in the backseat.
Boy, howdy, have we been there. Paper towels and wet wipes. You cannot go wrong.
You could clean a whole house in 30 seconds the way Grandpa's coming over. But yes, Jessie LeBaron comes in. First, it sounds like a car name. A really nice, expensive car. It's a Jessie LeBaron. She's slick. Slender lines, all speed.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, as we were told earlier, she's over 50, but still attractive.
Yes.
And radical feminist Dirk Pitt's like, after healing her bona fides, she's as much of a right to kill herself as we do. So off they go.
Get on board, lady. They take off. They report in every half hour. They find out Hurricane Eva's going to intercept them. And then no more check-ins.
And they blame somebody for dropping coffee on the controls and blowing up the radio.
That's probably what they did. But there is a mystery box, a mystery moment in this chapter. The guy on the ground, the crew chief, he says, they're gone. We lost them, same as last time. But he says this to a mystery figure in the back of a limousine. And we never hear anything else about this guy, at least as far as I've read.
No, not yet. So there's alternating plot lines going on behind the scenes. When they lost radio content, Sandecker informs the president immediately, and he's aware of the Prospertier being in the path of the hurricane. After the president is informed, Sandecker calls Clyde, and when he hangs up, he's like, my God, we've all been had.
Yes, because Sandecker calls the admiral in charge of the Caribbean, who tells him that the president didn't tell him to be ready for a rescue, and actually the president told him to keep all their ships out of the way of the hurricane and the Prospertier.
So death is on the horizon. They've been double-crossed.
Yes, by the president. Can you imagine?
As you know...
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I know nothing.
You don't know?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I know nothing. And you know what?
President of the United States of Canada. We both share this burden. I learned in this chapter, blimps don't have power steering. Jessie's like, this is a beast to drive. So naturally, put that puppy into high winds.
I do love how she spends almost this entire chapter piloting and doing a really good job, and also shouting at everybody else to like, would you fucking help me with this?
What?
And they're like, no, you're doing great. We're doing our own stuff over here. She tells them to dump the ballast or they'll die. And Dirk's like, nah, things are fine. Just pilot better. Because they brought a shitload of equipment with them and all of it's about to get busted out.
He doesn't know this. She doesn't, and she wasn't used to flying with that much ballast in the blimp in the first place, because though she has her blimp license, they didn't tell her before she took off that there was more junk in the trunk than she's used to by like thousands of pounds. So they almost dip into the ocean as soon as they take off. After they inform her of this, she's able to pilot correctly. But they're really stingy on the information. They're not like, hey, we're gonna scuttle the ship. Maybe she would have behaved differently.
No, I don't think so.
And at one point, Pitt kisses her on the cheek.
Good job, doll. They're using their magnetometer in high winds, and they ID the Cyclops. They find a sunken ship 480 feet long, and right when they ID it, right when they finally figure out where the Cyclops is, an armed chopper approaches. So Al and Rudy start assembling the special gear.
Yes, and winds at the same time are increasing to Hurricane Force 8, which is, I don't know what scale he's using. Hurricane Force 8. Sure. SEAL Team 6.
The Beaufort wind scale goes up to 10.
If you can see, the numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board.
And I only know that because in Titanic there was a hurricane and they said it was up to 11 on the Beaufort scale. And there is no 11 on the Beaufort scale. It goes up to 10.
Okay.
10 is total destruction.
What if you extra total destruction?
It goes up to 11.
So, no, maybe that was an homage to that rock movie.
Spinal Tap. I don't think Spinal Tap was out when Titanic came out.
Depends on which Titanic you're talking about.
The book. Because I think that was written in 78, 79.
Right, I was thinking the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Ah, yes. No, I don't think that one mentioned the Beaufort scale going up to 11.
I've never actually seen that Titanic movie. I always tried to.
Really?
We've all seen clips, but Leonardo DiCaprio looks like a used car salesman. Always has. Never got the attraction. They've been shot, and the gondola or the basket that they're in is on a severe tilt. The winds are caving in the Zeppelin all around them. Al gets out his big gear and he grenade launches. Was it a grenade launcher or a bazooka? Just spaghettifies the helicopter.
Yeah. While they're being shot at, some of the gear that they set up is a 2-inch bulletproof sheet, which they put up between them and the helicopter. And the helicopter opens fire on them. It's shredding the canopy, but their bulletproof plexiglass is keeping them safe. While everybody puts on scuba gear, and then Pitt assembles a rocket launcher and vaporizes the helicopter.
Al did the vaporizing. He did the pink misting.
Al did? I wrote down Pitt.
Yeah,
okay. Al did the vaporizing. Good for Al. He did something.
Rudy Gunn had to stabilize his legs. I guess he had enough time to stop crying that a woman was on board. Bad luck and all. So this doesn't really disprove the notion.
At the end of Chapter 19, the Prospertier collapses and explodes and folds in on itself and slams into the ocean and sinks. And in Chapter 20, everybody just swims out of it at the bottom of the sea wearing scuba gear. Pitt is really good at this.
Have you ever put on scuba gear?
Once. Twice.
How long did it take?
Not fast.
I haven't put on scuba gear, but I've put on, shapewear. The
Spanx.
stuff that makes you... Spanx, yeah. Between 20 and 30 minutes to, wiggle into something like that. If it has to be waterproof, that is not going on in 20 seconds.
Nope. There's lots of buckles involved, and you have to put that on a blimp in a hurricane being shot at.
That is very impressive, and I think you'd have to practice beforehand. There would be some muscle memory needed, especially when there's a pitch and a yaw. Well, people think they're going to do great in drastic situations, but we're used to being on stable ground. Once you're sort of sideways or gravity's fighting you for something, my friend Katerina was on base camp Everest in Nepal when the big earthquake hit.
Ooh.
And her recollection of it was the hotel, because she was staying in a wooden hotel, 2 stories. She woke up and the hotel hit her in the face, was her point of view.
Ooh.
So you're just not mentally prepared usually. Maybe scuba divers, scuba divers that also fly Zeppelins have this great spatial awareness.
Well, as we all know, Pneuma is a paramilitary group, so these men are ready for anything. Except Rudy, who, doesn't even like guns or anything. He's the nerd.
He's a brave nerd.
Oh, absolutely, a brave nerd.
Nerd's not a bad word. Yes.
I'm just saying, he's not the combat nerd.
No, he's not. But they do have a fleeting Pitt's taking stock of everybody, making sure they're all whole. Gordino has another broken ankle. This guy will never walk again.
Rudy has the broken ankle. Al has cracked ribs.
Oh, thank goodness.
And Jesse is okay.
And he's like, there's nobody bleeding. Great, no sharks.
Mm-hmm.
Which is forward thinking. But then they see barracuda, like 200 of them.
Barracuda are freaky looking.
They're very long, very shiny. Beautiful fish.
Teeth everywhere.
Yes. They don't look friendly.
No.
I think they're beautiful from this distance.
Yep. Pitt unpacks 8 more tanks of oxygen because he knew they'd have to be down here for this long, obviously.
But they still have to be very careful with their air supply. They have enough to get back with depressurization, and they have about 15 minutes, I think they said. So now's the time. Gordino and Gunn find the Cyclops. They throw a V signal to Pitt and Jesse. So they're like, oh, we'll follow them. V for victory. Well, they find the Cyclops. So with minimal oxygen, now is the time to explore the undersea wreck.
That's the entire point of them being there. I have like one sentence for chapter 21, which is they explore, there's some banter, lots of underwater details, and they find the crate. It's empty.
Oh, yes. I wrote, Pitt loves sunken ships. Just loves them.
And so does Clive. Like I said, this whole chapter is a regular-sized chapter, and I've got one sentence out of it.
You know what? So do I. I love sunken ships. See, the lore is like, I won't be on a ship ever, but sunken ships are cool.
Oh, absolutely. To be fair, this whole chapter is just beautiful meandering and underwater stuff. It is very cool, but not much happens exactly.
Jessie gets frightened by a skeleton, so she screams. That takes up more O2, of which they have precious little reserve. They can't go gallivanting around. So then he takes her through the mess hall in a tour of the dead. Is it just like a panic route so she uses up all of her oxygen?
Well, she doesn't scream those times. She has to get desensitized to it.
Therapy is where you want to start the process underwater at all times.
Sorry, I just realized that this is immersion therapy, but they're also underwater, so it's immersion therapy. And now I feel bad for even thinking of that.
You're such a dad. You're just another orphan's going to show up at your door. You're such a dad.
This is for that immersion therapy joke.
Oh, when they find a recently dead scuba diver, that dirt cracks open like you would a clam. Like, let's see who this guy is.
Yeah. Next to the empty crate, there is a deep sea dive suit. Obviously, somebody's already found the Cyclops. Someone's already stolen the treasure. And apparently somebody got killed along the way. So a bunch of stuff happened before we got here.
Mystery abounds, and will Jessie have enough oxygen to appreciate her efforts? And that is the end of my notes for today.
Really? Ah, man, I was hoping to get to 24.
Yes. I am sorry. I haven't. My husband just keeps talking to me. He was homesick the other day. With pink eye, double pink eye. Fine. That's not. I knew I couldn't podcast because he's always talking. Somebody's always talking.
And we'll record next week, and you got to read more chapters.
We'll read more chapters. And my husband's getting BPAP machine, and that will change my life.
I know what a CPAP machine. What the hell is a BPAP machine?
CPAP machine.
Oh, okay.
I did threaten him with that mallet. Like, I have to sleep at night. So he's finally getting a CPAP machine that's bringing tears to my eyes.
I wonder if I can buy one for people in my house.
Takes like few points off your day if you're not well rested, and those people aren't getting enough sleep. Mm-hmm. And they're never going to REM. She will change her life if she gets a CPAP machine.
I have heard that.
I know it's not sexy. I know it. Nobody wants to wear one.
Yeah.
But it does occasionally stop spousal murder.
All right. Well, in that case, I guess slightly shorter episode this week.
Shorter episode for all of you lovely listeners to Cussler Hustlers. I will read more next week. Have a wonderful and safe wherever you are, especially if you're...
Be safe.
Yeah, in Florida. Cheers. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
The Russians going to space, and they're gonna be ours. We're driving to a hurricane, and we're gonna be armed. Let's shoot it up with a plan. The wearing scuba gear. We're diving on a sunken ship, and we're so off rocket launchers. We're taking down helicopters. We're arguing with Russian doctors. And this is still